Welcome to the Gentleman's Guide to Gaming, and a video focused on the They Came From RPG series. I am never more happy than when talking about the They Came From games. I love it when people play them, and especially when they give me good reports of them. And I was contacted by someone by the name of Samantha. Thank you very much for watching, Samantha, who wanted to see if I could recommend a movie to use as inspiration for every single one of the They Came From RPGs. Not one movie that covers every single genre, but one each. Both as a test to see if I can remember every single one of the They Came From games, because there's a lot of them when you include that They Came From the RPG Anthology catalogue, which is over 10 in one book. I do recommend They Came From the RPG Anthology if you haven't picked it up already. But also to see if I can remember the various movie recommendations I put in almost every single one of these games. That's one of my favourite things to write, because it encourages me to watch all of these films again. Starting with They Came From Beneath the Sea, the obvious answer for me is not It Came From Beneath the Sea, but Them! Exclamation mark. This is the movie that encouraged me to put an exclamation mark on the end of the title for every single other They Came From game. It is a 1954 B-movie, and yes, it's giant ants, but it is played absolutely straight. This is what sets the mold for the They Came From style of playing. The performances are sober, the science is solemn, the military takes everything deadly seriously. The contrast between the absurd premise and total conviction, the beating heart of 1950s sci-fi is exactly the tone that the game sings in. For They Came From Beyond the Grave, I'm always tempted to go for a Hammer movie, a Hammer horror, because Hammer is, of course, one of the masters of horror, even though there's an awful lot of crap out there in the Hammer horror catalogue. I'm going to go for Dr. Terror's House of Horrors, which is earlier than Beyond the Grave's premise. I think it's 1965. It's Amicus rather than Hammer. Amicus put out a lot of good horror movies as well. If you've ever seen the Tales from the Crypt movie, I believe that's Amicus. Asylum is my favourite Amicus movie, but anyway. It nails the anthology structure, moral comeuppance, theatrical performances, gleeful gothic excess in Dr. Terror's House of Horrors. Each segment feels like a ready-made scenario, and Peter Cushing's presence alone teaches you how to chew scenery with dignity, with British dignity. Peter Cushing plays a blinder and appears in a lot of Amicus movies. I wouldn't be surprised if he's in more Amicus features than he is in Hammer ones. Now, this is going to be a controversial one, because when it comes to They Came From Camp Murder Lake, the obvious answer is going to be a Friday the 13th, or a Halloween, or even a sleepaway camp. But I'm going to go for The Burning. The Burning is a 1981 movie. It's meaner and more grounded than Friday the 13th, and still deeply of its era. It understands that slashers thrive both as a plot device and as a source of tension, on routine, on misdirection, the slow drip of dread, punctuated by sudden violence. It's perfect for parody, but still lets the knife land. And I think that's why The Burning really stands out to me. And oddly, and the reason I mention it is because I've only seen it for the first time very recently, but it did strike a chord. For They Came From Classified, my personal favourite of the They Came From games. I know I shouldn't have one, but They Came From Classified is it. I'm going to avoid Bond. I'm going to avoid the Avengers, the John Steed and Emma Peel Avengers, even though that is by far, if you were to take the entire John Steed, Emma Peel canon, you could take any episode and make a session of They Came From Classified. I'm going to go for Our Man Flint from 1966. It's the ideal balance. Flashy gadgets, sexual innuendo, a lot of that, wild conspiracies, and a protagonist who is far too perfect to be real. It's Bond through a satirical lens without becoming farce, which makes it perfect fuel for high camp espionage play. They Came from the Cyclops' Cave. I am going to choose a typical one. Jason and the Argonauts. 1963. Now, I'm pulling these dates out of my ass, so if I get any of them wrong, please feel free to post in the comments below. I believe Jason the Argonauts, the one I'm thinking of, is 1963. This is the Ray Harryhausen one, his most mythic. Again, monsters are sincere, much like our B-movie before. Heroes are noble, but slightly stiff. The magic is wondrous. It's not gritty. It's a very good film for teaching you that fantasy works best when the impossible... Yeah, there you go. There's a nice sentence. The impossible is treated as inevitable. Read into that what you will. They Came from the Danger Zone. All right, we're going to go obvious again. I really favour Stone Cold. If you've not seen Stone Cold, you should. But that isn't what I'm going to go for. I'm going to go for Commando, 1985. Ridiculous, yes, but never embarrassed. The film believes in its muscles, one-liners, explosive escalation. Every scene answers the question, what if we made this more? Which is the core loop of Danger Zone play. Now, this is one that we haven't released yet, next to Danger Zone. They Came from Witchford Academy. I'm going to avoid the obvious magical schools. And I know that a lot of magical school dramas are TV shows, so I'm going to go for a movie. I'm going to pick on The Craft, which is 1995 or... No. I think it's going to be later than that. I'm going to go for 1996. The Craft. 1996. Teen magic, social hierarchies, moral consequences, a tone that swings between empowerment and horror. It's dramatic. It's not whimsical, really. Stylish, but not cynical. It understands that magic schools are pressure cookers and not cozy libraries. I'm going to go for another tried and true option here for They Came from Cowboys Gulch. I'm avoiding John Wayne. I'm going to avoid Gary Cooper. I'm going for Clint Eastwood and everybody's favourite Latino Eli Wallach. Yeah, some things haven't dated that well. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, 1966. It's operatic, it's exaggerated, it's mythical. Every character is a walking archetype. Every stare is a duel. It's not a parody, but it knows it's a legend being told. And I would say that level of awareness feeds into camp Western play. Now, They Came from the Mean Streets, The Big Sleep. The Big Sleep is such an influence for a noir game like They Came from the Mean Streets. Both Cowboys Gulch, Mean Streets, and everything else I'm listing are found in the RPG anthology. They came from the RPG anthology rather than being independent books in their own right. 1946 is a confusing, stylish, cynical, gloriously uninterested in clarity. The plot barely matters. What matters is the mood, the banter, so the dialogue, corruption in the atmosphere. Noir at its best teaches you that not understanding everything is part of the experience. I believe The Big Sleep is 1946. I think it's 1946. They Came from the Interstellar Starship. If you know me, you'll know my strong temptation to say Flash Gordon. I own the Flash Gordon RPG. It's a beautiful thing. But I'm not going to go for Flash Gordon. I'm not going to go for Farscape, even though they are my two favourite sci-fi mediums, presentations, if you like, next to The Expanse. And maybe Battlestar Galactica a little further down there. The redo. Up to the 3.5 season. I'm going to go for Forbidden Planet. Let's stick with B-movies. 1956. I mean, it wasn't presented as a B-movie. It's a big idea. There's theatrical performances, bold colour, Freudian monsters, to put it mildly, in space. It's thoughtful sci-fi wrapped in pulp trappings. It feels like reading a comic book. And it shows how space opera can be philosophical without losing its sense of wonder or camp. They Came from Bridgeton Rectory. Now, there are so many fantastic period costume dramas that could feed into Bridgerton Rectory. Sense and Sensibility, Pride and Prejudice, basically any Jane Austen drama, but I'm going to go for something slightly different. I'm going to go for Clueless. Clueless, that's right, from 1995. Strip away the Beverly Hills setting and its pure Austen structure. Matchmaking, class anxieties, social missteps, moral growth. It proves that Regency-era drama is fundamentally about social combat rather than corsets, which is a part of the Bridgerton Rectory system. They came from the Bard's Quill rather than choosing a Shakespeare play, even though there are plenty I enjoy and plenty I don't. I'm going to go for Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, so it's a corollary, if you like, to a Shakespeare play. 1990? Yeah, I'm going to say 1990 for this one. It's a perfect example of relevant satire. It understands Shakespeare deeply enough anyway to play within its rhythms. The fatalism of being in a Shakespeare tragedy while poking at the absurdity of fate, of language, theatrical convention. If you were to watch anything to get in the mood for Bard's Quill, I would probably go for Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. They came from the billiard room with the candlestick, while we have a huge array of Agatha Christie's and other murder mysteries, quite classic. I'm going for Clue from 1985. It's obvious, yes, but unavoidable. It balances fast mystery, character comedy without breaking the genre. The multiple endings, the theatrical timing, character-driven suspicion make it the model for playful murder mystery play. Now, they came from beneath capes and cowls. I'm tempted by Darkman. I'm tempted by the Batman 1960s movie. I'm tempted by Mystery Men. There's so many good options here that aren't from modern Marvel Drek. But I'm going to go for something good. Something from my childhood. Batman Mask of the Phantasm 1993. Everyone loves Batman the Animated Series. And I would love to see a Beneath Capes and Cowls game set in the incredibly atmospheric animated series universe. It's dramatic, it's stylish, it's sincere, it's unafraid of melodrama. It treats superheroes as tragic figures without irony, much like Watchmen, if you like, and it's exactly why it acts as a camp inspiration rather than a grim, dark pastiche. After all, your protagonist is still running around in a bat suit, even though he's having to deal with all of this, these complex emotions. They came from under the Skull and Crossbones. Now, I'm not a massive fan of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, so I'm going to skip them, and I'm going to go to The Crimson Pirate, 1952, one of the original adventure movies for me. Back when I used to stay over at my aunt and uncle's as a youth and watched all of his B-movies, he had so many, and this is where I got into the medium. The Crimson Pirate was among them. It stuck with me. Every weekend was a different one or two of these movies. So if you're wondering why I can reel these films off the top of my head, some of them seeming quite obscure, is because my childhood was absolutely filled with media, cinema media. I still love going to the cinema, or the movie theatre, as Americans like to call it. It's still a wondrous experience for me. But this was the experience of sitting in a darkened living room watching a classic adventure movie. Swashbuckling joy with a sly smile. Burt Lancaster. He plays it straight. Well, he winks a little. And the action is athletic, it's colourful, it's romantic. It isn't a cynical, tongue-in-cheek movie. I think The Crimson Pirate is a hell of a lot of fun. I would almost put The Three Musketeers and Four Musketeers in there as well as a possible addition to Skull and Crossbones. I know they're not pirates, but we still have swashbuckling. Now, when it comes to They Came from the High Octane Apocalypse, Temptation is go for Fury Road or Furiosa. They are both absolutely amazing movies. Fury Road is one of those odd adult movies that I will quite happily let my son, who is not even 10, watch. Because it is very rarely bloody. It is at the end. I haven't covered his eyes at that point. There's barely any bad language that isn't language invented for the film. It is just explosive action and a fantastic, almost mythological story in, sort of a Greek Odyssey fashion. But let's go back further. Let's go to The Road Warrior, 1981. It's lean. It's brutal. It's mythic. It understands that post-apocalypse works best when society is reduced to symbols, rituals, extravagant costumes. There's humour, but it's bone dry, and it's situational. Perfect for stylized survival play. They came from the Steel Dragon Fighting Tournament. I always add the word fighting. I think it's just the Steel Dragon Tournament. Bloodsport, 1988. Utterly sincere nonsense, but great fun. It doesn't take itself quite as seriously as a Bruce Lee action movie, and I'm not looking at video games right now, so Bloodsport. Secret tournaments, national stereotypes, slow-motion punches, mystical bravado. It is basically the source of inspiration for the Street Fighter video games. It's camp because it believes in itself completely. And then They Came from the Meticulously Planned Bank Job, I think, finishes us off, unless I've missed a They Came From somewhere along the line. I am going to go for Rififi. I was tempted by the Lady Killers, but I'm going to go for Rififi 1955. I invite you to test my media knowledge. Rififi is the gold standard of procedural tension. It's a silent heist. It teaches players, if you watch it, the planning, execution, and aftermath of 3 different games, and the real drama comes after the job is complete. Every single one of them, they love their genre enough to exaggerate it without mocking it, and I think that is core to the They Came From experience. Yes, they are somewhat parodic in their nature, the They Came From games, but they are not just saying this genre is shit. What they're saying is this genre is a huge amount of fun, maybe more than you ever realized. So that's my answer to your question, Samantha. I hope that it has interested you, and what I would love to see, if you have watched this video all the way through, have you seen any of these movies? What do you think of them? And have you got a different source of inspiration for your They Came From games that you would like to add in the comments below? Let me know. And if you want a video, contact me through MatthewDawkins.com. Pick up a copy of They Came From, any of the They Came Froms in hard copy. Get in touch with me via MatthewDawkins.com and request a video. Thank you very much for watching. I will be seeing you.